is where we're sitting on that aftermath. We've got an 82% critic score, which we'll get to, because when we all say that's a bit sus, I'm going to show you why it's sus. And we've got a 39% Rotten Tomatoes score. Now, I would say that remove the critic score out of the way, right? Because we'll talk about that in a minute. But I think the 39% is probably accurate in terms of the audience score. What do you guys think?
Yeah, probably. It's probably one of the more accurate ones out there, maybe, I guess. Considering it's Rotten Tomatoes, I'm surprised.
I mean, it's pretty high, no? It should be lower.
So the reason I give it the benefit of the doubt just because of the reach that Amazon Prime has. So it's a bigger net that it's being casted out to. So the percentage, the ratio, it will be more favorable for those, with bad taste, I guess.
Yeah, that's too high. Both of them are too high.
Well, I think the critic one is going to start going down here, but I think you may be getting to that, Mr. H. So yeah,
I am getting to that. So this is the aftermath, and this is why I wanted. We've spoken. So there was a point to this stream title, ladies and gents. So we've spoken about the aftermath from She-Hulk, them coming out blaming the fans, season 2 not happening, all this kind of stuff. Now the aftermath from Rings of Power is a very interesting one. And I posted a tweet about it, and I said 10 guesses, or take your guesses now, as to when mainstream media will completely reverse their opinions on Rings of Power. And this goes to my point here about this 82% being too high, because it is too high. Because, ladies and gents, and people, Tom, Paulie, they're already starting to change their opinion already. The Guardian. Now it's over. Let's come out and say it. The Rings of Power was a stinker. They loved it.
Yeah. It was a different critic, but yes. Yeah, it's hilarious how some of these are being hedged after the fact, I guess. But yeah, we saw this as well. There's been a couple other ones. There was a few that I couldn't believe up front that weren't.
Yeah, well, I've got
too nice about it.
Article we're going to go through as well.
Well, what's funny is the original review that the Guardian had. Speaking of hedging, actually, because that's where it actually comes into play. They were hedging their shit more in there because, they're making tons of excuses for the show, just like every other critic was in the positive reviews. It's like, it really smelt of desperation on Amazon's part, basically begging and paying for exactly. And at this point, it's too big to fail, so they can't afford it to get this kind of reaction. But I think Andre and I are under the impression that a lot of these critics and magazines and websites and whatnot, outlets and media outlets, they're going to have to save face. They can't sit here and keep kissing these guys' ass forever and expect everybody to follow along anymore. Because, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, thing that I always fuck up just like the president. Fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, you know what I'm saying. That's kind of where we're at with this whole thing, and nobody trusts the media anymore, so they're going to have to start being more honest about this shit. We saw it kind of with Thor: Love and Thunder and a little bit with Doctor Strange. There was a few more reviews that weren't as nice as they normally would be. Especially, I was kind of surprised with Thor: Love and Thunder didn't get nearly as much love as I expected it to be getting as far as being a Marvel property. But it was a matter of time, and you can't lie to the public forever and expect them to buy your bullshit. So.
Yeah, I mean that's a good way to put it. I think I think it's too little, too late though, because you had egregious comments by the head of Amazon going, "Yeah, we hid reviews that we didn't agree with," so whatever, and no one called them out. Literally, no one called them out. They openly, freely admitted that they censored reviews, but no one called them out. People reported on it and said, "Yeah, that's what they're doing. Yeah, it's fine." No one called them out on it. Everyone just completely, put out all these nonsensical positive reviews, which are very clearly not. I mean, we say very clearly. It's obviously it wasn't people's opinions, just in general. Obviously, we know that this is a different reviewer, but it's still the editor. The editor's approving it. It's a media outlet. It's an approved platform. There's no way that the Guardian would look to change a narrative. That they're trying to push a uniform narrative. They don't have one reviewer doing them all, so they're still trying to push a uniform narrative that these reviewers are working within, and now they're completely flip-flopping on that. So it's too little, too late in my eyes. And this one, I mean, they're like, when the Lord of the Rings of Power debuted at the same time as House of Dragon, much noise was made about which show attracted more eyeballs. According to Nielsen, it was conclusive victory for Tolkien, with the Rings of Power viewers watching the first 2 episodes for 1.25 billion minutes compared with House of Dragon's 741. But over the week, something strange has happened. House of Dragon has sucked up the spotlight because it's good. It has attracted tweets, theories, memes, discussions, all on a rolling boil since the first episode. Meanwhile, if the Rings of Power has been seen anywhere, it was only in places paid for by Amazon. I think that's them gaslighting us. I think that we can call that surely.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if that's not like the most egregious example of gaslighting, I don't know what is.
Pretty much, and I think we came to the similar conclusion. And so yeah, like this whole Rings of Power thing has been nothing but a gaslight from the very start. I mean, and I think this review does a pretty good job of pointing that out about, they were more worried and concerned with basically getting Lord of the Rings than actually executing it. So yeah.
Well, I think the funniest part about this is, Paul, it goes back to you being bribed here, mate. Paid for.
Yeah, I've just been really quiet, just really contemplating my life choices the last 10 minutes. So, you guys really turned me around on this whole thing, and I might need to do an apology video taking the bribe.
Well, you didn't take the bribe in the way that it was intended. You didn't.
I took the popcorn.
Review, so it's fine. You took the Was it sweet or salted, or was it mixed?
We deserve full disclosure as a
transparency.
Audience, Transparency, yes.
I did that in our live video when we and I always do that. Hey, this was paid through my club card. I paid, and then for every movie, I'll just say, I paid full price. But
he actually does, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not ripping. I don't think you're compromised remotely.
No, I don't.
But with respect to this, I mean, this is absolute gaslighting, saying that they are, paying for stuff. There are billboards and adverts and Amazon, blah blah blah. But in terms of spontaneous, organic excitement, it has been a wilderness. And basically, they just go on to say how it just isn't very good, is what they sum it up with. 3 words: isn't very good. Inept as well. And apparently this person found himself laughing into his sleeve about it all. All right. Weirdo. But I mean, it just goes to show, doesn't it, how quick the media turns and the absolute gaslighting. I don't think Forbes were negative from the off, weren't they? Does anyone remember what Forbes were?
I believe they were a little bit more upfront. Yeah, if I remember right, I think theirs was one. Because again, we got to remember a lot of these come from different critics, and I think sometimes even have multiple critics for different outlets. Because I think like Mendelsohn gave it a pass, but like the other Forbes reviewer did kind of give it a bad review. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think Entertainment Weekly gave it one of the more savage ones though, which was surprising. But yeah.
Well, so Entertainment Weekly was the most egregious example of paid for advertising because they gave it a savage review. And what I mean by that is they were putting out, article after article, puff piece after puff piece. They're the ones that did that ridiculous like sitcom intro of all the characters like turning around, looking at the camera, waving their hair, looking like absolute dipshits. And then they come out with their review upon embargo release, and they're like, yeah, shit. And you're like, you've just been praising it. What?
Well,
literally yesterday you gave out a good
I don't know who owns Entertainment Weekly now, but it used to be owned by, I think, the same company, Time Life, the Warner Brothers company. So if that's still the case, they may have been glad to say, yeah, we'll take your money for an advertisement. And then I'm sure there was nobody higher up to say, no, you can't say this bad review about Rings of Power. Because that's the thing, is at that time, Warner and them were not seeing eye to eye. But since then, I've heard some things about checks being cut, and now they're listed as a production company, even though they had nothing to do with the actual production. And I think from what I heard, it has more to do with characters. Like supposedly Gandalf showed up at the end there, basically, or was the guy that fell from the sky or whatever it was.
Yeah, so they hinted that he was Gandalf. He said, "Follow your nose."
Yeah, and I think they have to. I think they have to pay for that. So that's kind of what's going on here. So.
Well, I mean, this Forbes article is hilarious. I mean, literally just the title alone, the Rings of Power Season 1 review, Amazon's arrogant betrayal of the Lord of the Rings, and I mean that came out today. So I mean, it's pretty scathing. It's absolutely brutal. Making wild, reckless changes to the legendarium in the processes. Abandons Tolkien's lore. Even specific commentary about the showrunners themselves created their own story. Everything that we've been saying, parroting, that we got called bigots and ists and phobes for. They've now just come out and agreed with us, which is hilarious. Absolutely filled with cheap mystery boxes and unsurprising twists. How bad has this show dropped the proverbial Palantir?